Hey!
Me first, then. Okay.
God, if that's going to go in the blooper reel, that's like half an hour's worth of bloopers just because we couldn't figure out how to spell Lave. That's a bit embarrassing.
Oh, dear. Ah, well. Right, okay, so law, chaos, and neutrality.
Yeah, so essentially
For those
what
people
you've
that
got
can't,
in this version of the game.
for those people that can't see the video, someone will just explain the game board for us.
Oh, I thought we were doing this as a video cast. God, if we're doing this as audio, it's going to be really unentertaining.
Yeah, let's not do it as audio. Okay, my turn's over. So can someone explain to me the difference between law, chaos, and neutrality in terms of the spell choices?
Someone do it while I'm making my move.
Well, essentially, you've got... I mean, you'll see now at the top of the screen, there's a thing that says chaos plus 3%. So the main thing is you have spells which are aligned to either law... Well, let's ignore neutral for the time being. You've basically got law and chaos. And every time you successfully cast a chaos spell, the balance of the world shifts into chaos. So your percentages for chaos spells go up and your percentages for law go down and vice versa. So there isn't, if you've got a spell that's only 20% success for chaos, it's in your interest to push the balance towards chaos before you try and cast it. That's essentially the thing. It's not really any more complicated than that. The only difference is that the neutral spells don't shift either way.
Right.
So anything that's got a high or low percentage in neutral casting, that won't change over the course of the game.
Gotcha.
And I know that it's, I know that Julian said that it's his aim for the game map is to, as it shifts into either law or chaos, for you to actually see physical changes to the landscape. So, I mean, this default board looks quite like his description for what the sort of law state would look like. But maybe this is still quite neutral, and law goes even more kind of crystally.
Cool. Do you want to take your turn?
Yeah.
We all appear to be,
creatured up.
Yeah, playing the same way at the moment.
I was going to say we all seem to be gobbling up.
It at the moment, the way in which I've kind of looked at it, I mean, I see now, John, what you were saying about the other night about health points and what have you, or mana points and stuff. It doesn't really work that way, which is quite interesting. But I'm finding the boards a bit small. I mean, they're battle boards, but they're not really. I quite like to discover more and have more chance to go off and find stuff, power myself around, and
Yeah. Is that not due to your Lords of Chaos background, though?
Yep. Absolutely.
I think in some respects there's an element that is the plan for the full version of the game, because there is discussion about finding chests and exploring and opening up areas. But I think one of the reasons you're finding this quite a compact board is there is 4 of us. Because this is exactly the same size arena as you have in a 1v1 match. And
is it? I thought it was slightly bigger.
It was slightly smaller in a 1v1 match.
Don't know. I'm pretty sure I've been in this. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be. It happens.
Yeah, it does look slightly bigger than a 1v1.
Because
if you think about a 1v1, it doesn't take you, 6 hexes to get across from one side of it to the other.
Well, this is the thing. The games I played earlier, it didn't take me. I was the other side of a map from somebody, and I don't know. I just seemed to be chasing them around. It's the same thing happened with John actually last night. We seemed to be in this sort of Benny Hill chase around a lake in the middle of the.
I see. Why didn't you videocast that one? We could have put the music over the top of it. We could have sped it up. It would have been brilliant.
Didn't think of it. I think honestly we were both playing this because we'd been trying to catch up with the Elite Dangerous Alpha, and it just kept crashing. So I'd just given up, and I thought I'm going to play Chaos instead.
Now that's a bit disappointing. Now my goblin was telling me that he had a 60% chance of taking out Alan's, and nothing, nada, zip, rubbish.
Well,
I'm going to run away.
I mean, this is the thing. This is where it's a very harsh game in some respects, because as I was saying with the game last night with John, I think I cast 3 spells in a row that were all above 75%, and they all failed.
Can't have a game of Chaos without the gooey blob making an appearance.
How rude. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, beauty.
So I know it's something that you guys talked about in the interview with Julian, but the nice thing about these weapons, you've obviously just cast a magic bow, but the magic bow now allows you to attack undead creatures as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, does it? I haven't tried that.
Yeah, no, he a very elegant system of defining the difference between undead and non-undead is just magic weapons affect undead. You know, that's the basically the way in which it works, which I think is a great idea.
That was the way it worked in Chaos, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, it was. I know.
So presumably the bow that the elf uses isn't magic; it's just a bow.
Correct.
And therefore doesn't affect undead.
Correct.
Okay, nice.
Although I have to say, when it comes to the magic weapons, I always get a little bit twitchy about casting a magic knife to go up against an undead creature. It just seems a bit pathetic. You get that sort of Crocodile Dundee moment, don't you, when you go up to them, something like a wraith or a spectre with a massive sword, and you wander up to him with a knife. So, that's not a knife. This is a knife.
Yeah, I think our goblins just had that moment, to be honest.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Crap. And then suddenly a manticore appeared out of nowhere. Come on, gooey blob.
So have you cast gooey blob in a place where it actually can't spread?
I'm not sure. I'm looking at it thinking, yes.
Because it won't go down, because we've got terrain here, and I don't think gooey blob travels down, certainly not down 2 levels of terrain, which that is. I think it might go down steps.
Well, I'm just thinking though, if it goes horizontally, is there not a more chance it might actually go along the line to Alan and that
Possibly.
goblin?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we don't know what the maths is for... Oh, there you go.
Yeah, answers that question quite elegantly.
Yeah. So we don't know
from
what the
my
maths
gooey
is
blob.
for how gooey blob spreads. I mean, whether it
they spread after... They spread on Fozz's turn, because he cast it. And they obviously once per round. And I think each blob has a chance to spread in a direction or to disappear.
Right.
In the previous games, the gooey blob had a lesser chance of spreading than magic fire. Magic fire was much more spreadable, but it was weaker, so it would disappear more. Unlucky on the vampire there, Foss.
It was a bit of a stretch, to be fair.
Good creature though. Love the vampires.
Yeah, I kind of need a Hail Mary from somewhere.
You do need something.
I'm going to be interested in the vampire and how it balances, because in theory, I think it's got an ability that it gets more powerful the more creatures it kills.
Really?
It kind of absorbs their energy or whatever, and so I think its attack power increases.
Absolutely, yeah.
Speaking about that theory, who was it that suggested the film The Man from Earth?
The Man Who Fell to Earth?
No, not The Man Who Fell to Earth. The Man from Earth. One of you guys suggested it.
I've never heard
somebody
of it.
recommended it to me.
Oh.
I haven't seen it yet, but I might have said to you that someone recommended it to me.
Okay. That's basically it's an idea that this guy is a caveman who a sort of a freak of nature where he none of his cells decay, and so he's lived for 14,000 years. It was good. It was actually a good film. I thought it was Alan that suggested it.
Yeah,
Who was the optimistic summoning of the Red Dragon?
Well, that was worth a try.
Well, he got a manticore out, so he's confident.
I got 38 with the fact that we'd gone Chaos plus 18. That got the Chaos percentage up to 56 or something. I think it was plus 16, so it was up to 56 for the manticore. So I thought, well, Red Dragon's up to 38%. I'll give it a go.
I have to say, because of just the way we're laid out on this board, I'm really confused by the turn order, because it feels kind of like a board game, and we're all sort of in a circle. I keep thinking, well, hang on, the guy to my right has just had a turn. Why is it not my go?
Well, yeah, it's caught me out a couple of times because I'm obviously scrolling the board to make this video look interesting, and it's playing hell with my brain.
Okay, well, speaking about playing hell with your brain, why is it that my gooey blob's just enveloped Alan's goblin and yet it's still there? Surely that goblin should have vanished.
No, what happens is it's now immobilized. You can't move it or attack with it, and every round it'll attempt to attack the goblin. So there's a chance that it will die.
I see. Well, that's a change from the original, because the original they just disappeared underneath it. I think they could have rematerialized at the end when the gooey blobs vanished. My wizard gets taken out, but up until that point, they couldn't escape.
Yeah, the environmental stuff, the environmental things in this are quite interesting, because if you cast the trees and things, you can sort of attack adjacent creatures with each tree. I mean, the gooey blob, is very effective. I mean, the game I played with John last night, my actual wizard ended up stuck in the gooey blob, and then I just lost at the beginning of the next turn because the gooey blob made a successful attack. So, it is interesting that it works that way. I don't think it would be as good if the creature just disappeared when the blob went over it, because then you couldn't, effectively then with the wizard it would be game over. And
so who were we saying? Who's complaining about the turn times and thinking that they might not?
Shut up, you.
Press the button. There we go.
Should have put it on a minute, and he'd have lost his turn.
Yeah, should have done.
Do I want to do this? What do I want to do? Okay, I'm gonna have a go at.
If someone hadn't thrown a great big ass manticore into my own backyard, then giving me pause for thought.
Oh, sorry. We could all be friends, I mean that.
But this is what I was going for,
Really?
I thought I'd cast, a bit of interior design, make the place nice, green, friendly, gooey blobs around the place, sit down, tell stories around the campfire. Or
So I'm
magic fire.
curious. What I was curious about in terms of what you guys see. So if I move something and then undo the move, do you see me undo it? Or do you not see the move until I've confirmed it?
We don't see the move till you confirmed it.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. That's good. I like it.
So yeah, that's just moved.
Ah, that's interesting. Okay.
In the most un-eagle-like kind of way. It hopped.
It's for those that are watching the amazing video of this, Chris has just opened up a second front and decided invading Russia is a good idea.
Be prepared for a long winter.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about these goblins and zombies that are coming in from my right hand side, to be honest. I'm waiting to see if John does anything. If he brings out something else like an eagle or a manticore, then I'm going to panic. But goblins and zombies, I can deal with. Well,
I've just got like 10 gooey blob spells.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
I don't suppose for the benefit of this game you could just all class me as Switzerland, could you? Given that I'm one wizard and a shield and no army.
I don't know, will you look after our gold and not ask
Yes,
any questions?
definitely, yes. Gold and spells. Just bring them my way.
Excellent.
Just come and buy lots of chocolate off you and go skiing.
So in terms of the graphic style of this, we're having a bit of a chat before about what we sort of think, because obviously this is kind of developer art at the moment in a lot of instances. I mean, that zombie, if John gives the viewers a little close-up look at the zombie, that is a very, very placeholder model. But in terms of the overall kind of look and aesthetic, I don't know, I quite like this sort of single colour, almost plastic model look that some of the graphics have. Do we think, is that going to stay, or is the final art for the game going to go to a more sort of photorealistic look?
Well, I kind of like it the way it is, and I think just polishing the models and adding the animation will make it look really nice. Because I don't know, if they make it look very realistic, then there's a chance that it's going to start looking like other RPG games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and also, I mean, there's a little bit of precedent in that there was a game called Frozen Synapse that had sort of Nice. Oh dear, now I'm immobilized. Great. It was a game called Frozen Synapse that had the kind of color coded system down, and they basically used like a GPS looking top down system, but it was very Laser Squad. The only thing was that you did all your moves, and then you pressed end turn, and your opponent did all their moves, and then they pressed end turn, and then everything happened in real time. So it had a slightly different sort of.
Harsh.
Yeah, you know.
That is
Yeah, I shouldn't have ignored it. I should have walked away, but never mind. So yeah, anyway, so Frozen Synapse did the sort of color coded thing, and I think actually it's not a bad idea here to keep it stylized, because it's a stylized kind of game, little bit key sort of niche in that term, and I think that certain type of game player won't necessarily go for this, but then again, the people that like Julian Gollop games are usually people that want a game of chess that has lots more fun to it, because this is like chess on steroids, really.
As I say, that feels like a judgment on chess somehow, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, well,
I would chess with more violence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, did you ever play Battle Chess?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to suggest next. Yeah,
because Battle Chess was awesome, but it's still fundamentally chess. The thing with this is that it's chess with more dimensions to it. You're playing not just with pieces, but also with the potential of pieces, and also with different powers and stuff. So it does have its sort of extra, as it were, in terms of what you do.
I think in terms of the update of this from the original, I think the terrain is an excellent modification. It's funny, the map that we're on kind of doesn't demonstrate how good the terrain options are, because of course we're on this big raised sort of Cheerio, and no one wants to descend into what is essentially the killing box, which is the lower level in the middle of it. But on other levels where you have kind of occasional terrain here and there, things like the height bonuses that you get for eagle attacks, and also for archery attacks as well, really do make a huge difference to the game. I have to say, on this particular map, it does just feel like we're chasing each other around a ring. But
although I've just realised that I've made a big mistake there. I thought I'd be able to fire my magic bow and then cast a spell, but seemingly firing my magic bow is my spell.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that you had as a different, sort of setup. I mean, Julian's already been on record of looking through the Lords of Chaos parameters and what have you, and saying which ones were slow and which ones were fast. And one of the ones he didn't like was the sort of movement and the health elements, the stamina elements. So basically, your wizards got tired, other people got tired, and they had a move allocation, but they also had a as the term went on, they had less and less moves because they got tired. And so he's gone for a much simpler system of move and act. I might go with extending that a little bit. I mean, obviously XCOM plays with this sort of move and act scenario, doesn't it? But it's quite cleverly done. So you've actually got a few more options. I guess that will happen though once we get out to the prototype, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, how long are they taking to develop the game? We thought it was coming out in 2015.
Yeah, they're going to take a full year, so that's why I'm kind of confident that the graphics are going to be, quite substantially different to this, really. Animating 3D models is, it takes time, I guess, especially with the number of spells that they're planning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it'll be like the Elite Dangerous Alpha, where people will actually have quite a decent sort of input into how the game looks as it progresses and stuff. There'll be quite a lot of feedback that they can get.
I would think as well, looking at the idea of writing background, it gives you such an opportunity to to extend that sort of element. I think it'd be very, very interesting. Oh dear.
Okay. Now,
I'm inclined to
up a
feel
bit
at this.
here.
I'm inclined to feel at this point it's basically me v John.
Now, John, did you actually cast that at my wizard?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
You could, and that's what's different from the original Chaos, is you can place it onto a creature directly.
Right, that I didn't know.
It's made the spell that bit more powerful.
Right, okay. See.
There's a discussion on the forums about the fact that because of the terrain. Excellent. Shall I just sit over here and wait to win? Because I think you guys are both going to die now. That is genuinely excellent.
To be honest, Chris, why don't you just get a bit closer, cast a bit more gooey blob over there, and it's a real party, isn't it? It's mud wrestling, Chaos Reborn, kind of works.
It's a blob party. Nice.
Now, I can't work out line of sight in this game. I can't work out whether this slightly lower step near me is out of sight of the elf because there's that rock, or whether, actually there is still line of sight there. It's one of the things I found a bit vague with this prototype.
Yeah, with you. I'm not particularly sure. I think, with the fact that it's being developed in Unity, you've got the opportunity to sort of flip this around a little bit. So we'd hope that later on, there'll be some options to be able to do that.
Well, there obviously is line of sight because I've just managed to take a shot at the elf. So.
Yeah, but you're on a level there. You're both stepped down, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no. What I was trying to say before was there was a discussion on the forums about. I think someone says they described it as camping behind. Is it the Enchanted Forest? I can't think what it's called. Because they're basically saying magic wood. So if you've basically got a raised up level that's sort of a little pinnacle, and then you cast wood all around you, that then no one has line of sight, and they can't get through to you because the chances of destroying the bramble stuff is only about 10% or something. So basically, other than things like magic bolt and eagle, you are essentially out of range. It's quite an interesting concept, but I think it's just one of those gameplay nuances that's quite nice. If you can get yourself embedded in a fortress like that, I think it's a legitimate game.
Yeah, I think that was Tanglevine, wasn't it?
Tanglevine, that's it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we love Tanglevine. Tanglevine was cool.
No, okay.
I think there's both though. I think there's Magic Wood and Tanglevine in this.
Yeah, there are. Right, Foz, you either need to get yourself loose, which I'm not sure how you do. Can you attack ground on yourself?
No, you can't.
With a magic bolt?
No, he'd have to cast another creature, which then in his next turn might be able to free him. But that's problematic because he's too deep in the blob, so you'd need something either with a ranged attack or just be patient, I guess.
Although, would it actually shoot the? Say I summoned an elf. Would the elf shoot the blob, or would the elf shoot me?
Yeah,
the
it
elf
attacks.
shoots the blob.
Yeah, it doesn't attack you; it attacks the blob.
Yeah, I don't think there's any friendly fire in this.
Can I shoot myself with a magic bolt?
No.
Okay.
That's what we were discussing.
Oh, can you?
Well, why don't you give it a go? Because you can always back out of the spell if it's not working on anything.
Okay. Okay.
Or you just hit John with it.
Thanks for that, Alan.
Hey, I'm neutral.
So bringing our own unique Lave Radio brand of outrageous speculation to this, how do we think the kind of full game is going to play out? Because in terms of discussing, sort of the bigger game and the sort of exploring, is it going to be a game that you sort of play as like a big open world that you explore around, and then when you encounter another player, you go into this kind of instanced arena to have a sort of tightly defined battle? Is that right?
My understanding of it is the RPG element is co-op, but also you will meet other kind of these offline wizards who are lords or kings.
Right.
So the RPG is basically a PvE. The PvP stuff is arena, which is what we're playing. So they're going to be distinct.
But isn't there he was saying that you control your PvE wizard. So once you're a wizard lord, you can actually set up your wizard and put that into the offline game world. And if your sort of created wizard lord does well, that reflects on you when you next boot up the game.
Yeah, you play as both in a way. I got a feeling this gooey blob is going to be my undoing.
Yeah, it's I mean, the tiered system is very interesting. Obviously, they've got some stuff to iron out in relation to how all the different tiers are going to work, but it's certainly very interesting. And I think, the thing that John and I discussed in the interview about procedurally generated realms and the idea of, how big, how vast the actual environment can be, that's a real appeal. Because going off into all sorts of places and finding all sorts of things that can help you in battles against other guilds or battles against powerful NPCs, I think that's good stuff. And it's got a different take to it. We're not looking at a sort of World of Warcraft style thing. With the fact that it's PG, it means that you've got a massive environment to explore, and also it's turn based, so you've got a very different aesthetic.
Yeah, can you come and help me out here, Travis?
I'm just trying to make a route for the killing.
I was going to say, it looks very much to me like Jarvis is trying to send a goblin up your rear, which, could be quite painful.
There's a phrase I didn't think I was going to hear today.
Have you got a cast left?
I got a surprising amount, actually. I normally get to this stage in the game and, yay! That's the first time I've ever managed to successfully summon one of those.
It's quite weird in that the different spells that you get, because obviously the selection is random. Because I'm seeing lots of creatures that people have got that I didn't have.
Yeah. I have to confess, I'm always slightly disappointed when I come into the game and I don't have any environmental stuff like Gooey Blob. Because they're definitely my favourite spells. To the game board.
I'd want to be able to choose my spell list. I'm very much hoping that it's not randomised, much as I know that was a thing from Chaos. But I'm quite happy if there is a sort of a setup that you can have your spell list randomised. But I'd rather my preference of play would be to be able to define my wizard much more.
I think there's a danger with that. I mean, you see it with other games like, strategy things like I was talking about Pokemon, where you have sort of 650 potential creatures to choose from. But actually, if you look at the top end of the game, everyone's using the same 6. Because once you're allowed to kind of define your own moveset, there are some which, mathematically are just...
But Julian's always been very good about designing games, so that's not the case. Certainly with every game that I've played of his, where there have been options, you very much found that there were different tactics associated with different options.
That's very true to a point, but is the randomized spell list not one of his design decisions?
Well, it is in the prototype. I don't know what it will be in the eventual. Oh, is Foz loose?
Yes.
I mean, talking about the deck, I can understand what Jarvis is talking about in terms of like players who are going to min and max, who are going to basically do some theory crafting and work out which spells give you the max, DPS or whatever, or whatever the measure is. But at the same time, it depends on how they're going to implement it, because if there's a kind of play style, it's not just a case of giving you the most power, but also what is going to give you a certain style of play which you find more fun. Then that might be an option.
For me, it's ownership is the character ownership is the key thing here. You want to feel like you're the person learning the spell list, etc., etc.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe there's an elegant way of doing it, a quite organic way, in the sense that if you so your spells are randomized, and if you tend towards using law over chaos or chaos over law, that actually your wizard becomes more corrupted or more lawful, and that actually then you're more likely to get chaos spells if you're a chaos wizard.
Yeah, that's not a bad
law wizard.
That's not a bad plan.
And that kind of builds into the whole role-playing aspect of the game, where you're sort of defining your character a bit.
Well, and also the other way to do it is if you specialize too much, if you go too far into chaos or too far into law, then if you meet other wizards, then they can actually take advantage of that specialization, because you will have, by going so deep down that path, there will be certain spells that you don't pack, and so they will use that against you.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the other thing is, another way of doing it, interestingly, is rather than being able to define your spell loadout definitely, is you could actually say, well, this is, a bit like card games, battling card games, where you say, well, you've got to have a deck of 30 cards. So you define 30 spells that you want, but then at the beginning of each game, you get 16 of those randomly. So there's still a random element of the battle you don't have control over, but you also do have a certain amount of, this is the group of spells that I want that random choice to be from. That's a possibility, I think.
Yeah, that might work. But certainly, I mean, the ownership, I think, for the game to become a sort of a long-term thing that you play, and repeat and play and improve, then I think the ownership issue is key. In previous ones, the things that I always wanted to do was to improve the character, and you could, as you went through scenarios, you could improve the character, and that that was important. So
yeah, I think it's hard. It's hard at the moment to imagine how the wider game world is going to work outside of the arena. I think that's a big question mark, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because it means it's it's open to be developed, which I think is it gives them time to work. God, dear, there's enough blob in this, isn't there? Right. Well, Foz, I'm very surprised you've not moved.
I couldn't before.
Okay.
No, there's only one square he can move to anyway.
I was going to say now I can, but before I couldn't. You can't step down.
Oh, I see.
And it surprises me. It surprises me that you can't drop down. I understand you can't climb up a sort of 2-level shift, but I always think you must surely just be able to drop. It's only a ledge. Just walk off it.
Maybe they've all got brittle bone disease or something.
They are wizards. They are not used to...
They twist their ankles quite easily.
Yeah. Oh, John's loose as well. Well done, John.
Well, we'll see for how long.
Yeah, no, you're going to rue that manticore if immediately the blob expands and aren't you?
There's nowhere else I could cast it.
I bet it's not real anyway.
That sounds like someone who's about to use a disbelief spell.
Oh no!
Oh, sneak attack by the goblin.
All of John's magic blob as well.
Yes, it has.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, not fantastic.
Well, that was one of the things that was in the older games.
It was Unleashed.
That was one of the things that was in the older games, so that all the wizard's magic was dependent on the wizard. And this was something that actually myself and Cole Ford were asking Julian the other night, in that we were thinking that if you go into a scenario with an NPC, the minute you arrived in that scenario, the NPC seemed to have no creatures, seemed to have nothing, just as you had nothing. So it was all very strange, that if they'd lived there for an X amount of time, why wouldn't they have stuff? Why wouldn't they have summoned creatures that they had around them?
Yeah.
And similarly, what would also happen is the arrival of a portal would cancel certain spells as well, which was very strange. So yeah, we were kind of trying to work out whether that was part of the gig. We're not sure. Julian's not answered that yet. So. Oh! Now the game could be turning here.
I know. I'm surprised here.
He's got a lot of creatures down very quick.
And, it is suspicious, isn't it? And I have a little birdie has told me that Foz has a tendency to cast creatures as illusions that are actually quite high percentages.
Yeah, that wasn't me, honest.
No, nice to see you riding the Manticore there. That's,
Yeah, I'm curious about this. Yeah,
I thought so. But it's interesting.
I think it's only fair, Foz.
But it still got me far enough away, so I'm out of danger.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There wasn't a good reason for me to disbelieve it, really, until just now. Because that's the thing, we've been doing this video and talking through it. We haven't actually really discussed the strategy of the game. For anyone that's curious about what's going on, then bear with us. So yeah, there really wasn't. I mean, I suspected from the moment it appeared that the Manticore was probably not real. But to be honest, until it became either a threat or a reason why I might not actually be able to catch up with Fozza, it was kind of. I wasn't really too worried about it. All quiet on the Western Front.
Well, I'm surprised you're not riding that elephant. I thought it's just to get your wizard around, or if you did find yourself in a sticky situation, you could get away quicker, because that spider's obviously coming your way.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't really. I sort of ended up with a bit of a bottleneck with my creatures because of this raised walkway where you sort of can't do very much. I ended up in a situation where all my creatures were in a line, and I couldn't get my wizard to the ones that are actually rideable. So yeah, I kind of now I've sort of opened things up a bit by stepping into the lowered area of death, as I like to call it. Maybe things will change.
Because obviously you're at a disadvantage from creatures attacking from a higher position.
Exactly. Yeah, the ones that can sort of dive, like the eagle, like the archers. So suddenly Pegasus has appeared. So that's probably an illusion.
I hate you, John.
You know what? I've had such a bad run of luck with summoning Pegasus. I know how hard it is to actually get it to appear.
To be fair, Foz, you only need to play you once to work it out. So.
Twat.
If I could, I'd disbelieve your wizard. I'm not even entirely sure you're even really there.
Cool spell idea, though. If you could kind of create mirror images of your wizard and, I don't know, move them around the board so no one, until you actually cast a spell, no one knows which one's real or something.
Ah.
I think I'm not sure, but I thought that had been done in
Total Recall.
No.
That's what I want. I want an illusion of my wizard to be Arnie standing there side on, just going, ha 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 ha. You think this is the real one? It is. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah. I think it had been done in Art of Magic. I'm fairly sure it had been done in Art of Magic. I could be wrong though. But there was the illusion spell was used in different ways. In some of the sequel games. I want Pixies back. I really miss Pixies. Pixies were great because Pixies were invisible.
I think I can see Alan starting a petition. Bring Pixies to Chaos Reborn. If you get 60,000 signatures, the Prime Minister has to discuss it in Westminster.
Well, vampires as well. Vampires are very interesting because vampires were one of the few undead creatures that could hold stuff. So you had wraiths, which were very powerful, and you had and vampires were not quite as powerful as wraiths. But vampires, you could give them equipment, So if you gave a vampire a magic sword, then it was much more powerful, and that was particularly useful. And obviously Julian mentioned the fear element, which is was very useful as well. I think there's a lot of strengths to different creature types. I love the idea that not just with the spell list, that the spell list is expandable, and also just the variation of the bestiary and how many different types of creatures you could have, could be very, very, very long. I like the idea of discovering lots and lots of different types of creature. I think it'd be very cool.
So can someone explain something to me in the rules here? So I'm in a situation where you probably can't see this because I haven't confirmed one move, but essentially I can't target Fozzer. I've got spells that I could theoretically target him with, but for some reason he won't highlight. Now, why is that? Is that a bug, or is that part of the rules?
It might be a line of sight issue, I guess.
So you are
from where you
right
were.
at the jacksie of a big fat elephant, mate.
Oh, I see that move has confirmed then.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, if you deselect the creature that you just moved, then you lose the ability to take it back. I think,
right, okay, because I moved and then I looked at my spell list.
That could be it.
Wow, it's the longest thinking turn I've ever seen.
But you were talking about hands and creatures able to use their hands. In today's update from Julian, they mentioned treasure chests.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And how there's like a mundane treasure chest, and then there's the kind of enchanted one. And the enchanted ones, only the wizards can open. But the other ones, other creatures that have hands can open them and fetch whatever's in there.
The difference with magical chests, that's new. But you always had the ability to essentially. I hate to go on about pixies, but that's what I used to do. Just used to send them around the map and send them off opening and finding treasure chests, collecting stuff, bringing it back to the wizard. The wizard would then use it or dole it out to whoever needed it. And that was a big part of the game.
So pixies were the kleptomaniacs.
Yeah, essentially, because they're invisible, so other people couldn't see them. You could only track them by the fact that something.
And that's it. Game over.
Go.
Well, I think the gooey blob kind of protracted that one. I think, but
and me basically standing back, waiting to see which one of you died under the gooey blob.